And good evening. Welcome back to Alas for the Awful Sea. This is Kingsport 1851, Part 2, Episode 2. Or something. That's a lot of episodes. I mean, I wrote down 6 on the clapboard. So I am joined by the fantastic crew of the Tethys. So let's just start with my co-collaborator, Serafina, who was playing our captain, Charlotte Goodwin.
Hi, I'm Serafina, she, her. I am playing Captain Charlotte Goodwin, also she, her, the captain and the believer. I'm really looking forward to digging a little bit more into her belief this round, probably this episode. Last we saw, she was sort of struggling against patriarchal bullshit and, maybe making some rash decisions in the effort to make herself seen as an equal to the other captains. I'm sure that won't continue to be a theme, and that she will eventually settle down when she stops being hysterical.
This whole electronic thing is not going to be fun. So why don't we go right down to our second in command, Scott, who's playing James Fife, the old sea dog, and now first mate on the bark Tethys.
Yep, I got a promotion, and as Catherine said, I am the old sea. Oh, I'm Scott, he, him. I am the old sea dog, James Fife, also a he, him. I am the confident, and I'm just finally wrapping my head around how to work that in. I got it in a little last session, and despite being quite an old hand, I bested in combat a first harpooner, and I'm looking to not get into a fight again because that was pretty lucky.
It's not luck; it's talent and nerves. That's what they say. Why don't we go next to our old friend Daryl, a longtime Kingsport resident who is playing Forbes Greenwood, the scholar, and something else. Yes.
Yes. We've yet to see the full length of what else, but so Forbes, my name's Gerald, and my pronouns are he, him, and I'm playing Forbes Greenwood, whose pronouns are also he, him. He is ostensibly a scholar, and he got on at the Tethys last stop, and was hoping that he could just bargain his way back home to Kingsport, but the captain wasn't having any of that and very quickly put him to work in ways that he finds most undignified for a man of letters as himself. That being said, he is still attempting to solve a bit of a problem that he has that we haven't quite seen the full extent of just yet. He is indeed actually the creature, and it seems that that is a thing that he thinks he can solve, but we shall see. Yep.
I'm sure everything is going to turn out fine. It always turns out fine in Kingsport. And finally, our other longtime first original Kingsporter, Bethany, who's playing Joe McDougal, the stowaway.
Hi, I'm Bethany. Pronouns are whatever. And I'm playing Joe McDougal, whose pronouns are also whatever, but in a different way. At the moment, it's he, him. He just basically goes by like whatever the first person he runs into in a given setting thinks he is. So first person he saw on the ship thought he was a dude, so he's a dude. He is the stowaway, former stowaway now. He like has a legitimate job and everything. Not a good job, and he's not particularly good at it. But compared to Forbes, like it's kind of nice to not be the worst rower on the ship. Awesome. Although like it's not that great that it's Forbes because he's kind of in love with Forbes. So like, there's that. I haven't done anything at all with that. Maybe I will tonight.
Yeah, it seems like something's coming. Maybe tonight. All right. So when last we left off, absolutely nothing mysterious was happening. Not at all. It wasn't as if, half a sperm whale had been eaten off the other side of the other ship. Speaking of the other ship, the Tethys is currently being accompanied by a sister whaling bark, the Charity, captained by Mr. Bradford Houston. And his lovely wife, Emily, is aboard too. And she is not having hero worship of Captain Goodwin at all. Okay. So, you guys are still cruising the offshore grounds. So far, the hunting has been quite excellent, to the point where there are whales that you still haven't gotten to rendering the 2 whales you got last week time. So, where shall we start today? So, well, we do have Joe who wants to do some stuff, right?
Some stuff?
Yeah.
Did I? don't know. Is this something I said last week?
No,
Because I don't remember. Okay.
You just said, you wanted to bring out the lover side of you, and actually, well, we have the captain too, who wants to be a believer, and we have Forbes, who has a terrible secret. So that suggests me putting the 3 of you together somehow.
I am up for that. I just have no idea where to start.
Well, let's think of the things that could be going on a whaling ship. I mean, right now it's mostly messy and greasy and terrible stuff is going on board a whaling ship. But Forbes is a scholar, right? And yeah. And Captain, you may have some questions, yes? I mean, it's not as if you haven't been seeing stuff, right?
I've been seeing some weird shit.
Yeah.
And if somebody's got a secret, I mean, James Fife has to be there.
Okay. So I think I know how to divide this up. Why don't we throw the captain and Forbes together? Do you think you would go to Forbes about stuff?
No.
Okay.
I think it would be more likely that Forbes might be talking to me about things, and stuff might kind of come up out of that situation.
That's true. And you frighten Forbes.
I do frighten Forbes, which is great.
But Forbes is the only one who's seen your private cabin.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe, I mean, that could be now.
That sounds like yes. How's that work for you, Forbes?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right. So why are you messing around in the captain's private cabin?
Or do I invite you there?
Oh,
I mean, I think that the framing for that particular bond was very specifically that I got a look-see when I wasn't supposed to.
Okay.
I snuck into them. And so maybe I think this is actually a point where you discover me. Is it? And yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so yeah. So when I walk in, what are you doing?
And I whip around really quickly, and I slam whatever. I probably was rifling through your desk, and I slam a day planner or something down, and I just say, "Oh, I was looking for some paper and some writing materials. You see, I seem to have run out since my last refresh."
And she's very quiet for a long beat, and she says, "I think it's time we have a talk," and closes the door behind her.
It's it's like that framing where it's you just see my terror-stricken face as the door closes.
Yeah. I walk past you almost as if you're not there now, and I reach down into my desk drawer and I pull out a bottle of whiskey and a little bag. And by the way, I have a monkey. I don't know if I mentioned that last game. His name is Milton. And Milton hops down onto my desk, and I hand him over the little bag of nuts, and he's fiddling around with it. And I pour you a drink, and I say, "Sit."
And I take the drink like demurely, and I very quickly like sit down, but you notice that I don't actually drink it.
And I swirl it around in the glass and look at you over the lip, and then take a small sip and say, "So what were you looking for?"
And I kind of just say, "Oh well, as I said, I was looking for writing materials. You see, as an academic, I write quite a bit, as you might surmise, and well, I couldn't help but notice that you've been chronicling our journey, and I got a little curious. I'm sorry."
I am going to roll plus brain to read your thoughts. I roll a 9. So I get to ask one of these at any time during the interaction. Okay, are you telling the truth?
Yes and no. So basically, he is very interested in what you're chronicling, but it hasn't anything to do with the journey. It's what he wants to know what you think of the whale carcass that we saw, the one that was like monstrously chomped to bits, because he knows that that's not normal, and he knows that you probably know that's not normal, but he wants to know exactly what you think about it.
So she leans back in her chair and she says, "Have I wronged you in some way?"
Like and he like looks very stricken. He's like, no, Captain, of course not. You've shown an exceptional exceptional amount of charity in my case, as I know I couldn't pay my way, and you've so kindly kept me aboard for my services.
Have I created the impression that I would lie to you or mislead you if you came to me and asked me frankly about something? You see, I'm curious. When you decide to look through my private journals, it tells me you are interested in my private thoughts. And if you want my private thoughts, my good man, I am sitting directly across from you.
And I finally take a sip of that whiskey that you'd poured me, and I say, it is oftentimes when people do not think they are confiding private thoughts in another person that they are the most honest about things that they would never tell another person.
You're a smart man. I am a smart woman. I don't put anything in writing that I wouldn't say out loud. Because journals have a way of going missing, and people have a way of learning things with the aid of those journals that I might not want known. So, ask me what you want to ask me.
And I kind of put the whiskey down on the table and like look at it a little bit longingly, but not like I don't actually like partake anymore. And I say, I think it was rather obvious that what happened to that carcass we saw was not normal. And I wanted to get your take on what you think might have happened to it.
Do you read much Shakespeare?
I must say I am not familiar with much of the bard's work.
There is a quote from Shakespeare that I think applies very well to the sea, which is, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And I think that there are things underneath this ocean that we've never seen before.
Well, I would say that the bard was correct when only in that he referred to one specific man's philosophy. But there are philosophies of people who are only akin to man that may have a closer guess.
I think you might be right.
You see, I did not really confide in what my area of expertise was, and I happen to have a background in occult studies, and it is not something that I like to share lightly, because even in today's times, we are often seen as dabblers in things that we don't understand.
She lifts the chain of her necklace out from underneath her top, and it's like a crescent moon, like really elaborate gold crescent moon, and she says, "Tell me more about your philosophy, Forbes."
And like seeing the icon of the old ways, he kind of like, you see him like relax just a little bit, and he says, "If I may speak candidly, I happened to notice the handiwork of my cousin Phoebe adorned around your ship. So it seems that that was more intentional than I initially surmised."
It was indeed.
Unfortunately, I am not close with my cousin, and I do not know the extent of your relationship with her. But I think it should be obvious at this point that her knowledge and my knowledge have vast overlap.
I am glad to hear that, and I am glad we hired you on. Because I feel like that was just the beginning of the strangeness we're going to see.
See, and that's what I was attempting to escape, and that's why I was trying to return home. See, one of the reasons for mine and Phoebe's estrangement is actually that I find myself in a very precarious condition, and unfortunately, she is the root cause of it.
She cursed you?
I suppose that would be the easiest way to describe it.
Well, maybe you being here is the fortune of the gods.
Well, in my recent experience, misfortune has been more of a definitive factor, but I sincerely hope that we might be able to turn that around.
I think, and she leans forward. I'm going to use Shepherd of Men, which is not a move, but when someone comes to me for guidance, I teach them to act as a true believer, and if you heed my words, you take one forward to the next roll needed to follow my advice. So she leans across the table and refills your glass and slides it over to you. And she says, "I think, my friend, that one of the reasons you are on this ship is to find your way to a cure or a solution for your problems. Because no one comes to the Tethys who is not meant to be here. And if you embrace our mission, I think you'll find what you need."
I pick up the glass and I look at it and I say, "Well, Captain, I'm curious to see what you dream of in your philosophy." And I take a sip.
Awesome.
Okay. So Mr. Fife, I think it's the changing of the watch, and Bill approaches you. Says, "Well, Mr. Fife, the crew does seem to finally be rounding out a bit, don't you think?"
They do seem to be coming along. We seem to have rounded out the crew nicely in the last port.
I often find that nothing like success to bring a crew's morale together.
And would you call what we've had success?
I would say it's a fair beginning. After all, we did catch a whale before we were rightly away.
Yes, we seem to have been blessed, even with some of the other happenings.
Yes, though I suppose they're might curious, but, well, you and I both have been at sea for so long that I think there's little that will strike us as particularly curious.
When you spend as much time in the sea, you see weird things and become accustomed to it.
Sir, might I trouble to talk to you about Mr. McDougal, our unsigned crewman?
How do you find Mr. McDougal?
Quiet, learns well, has a penchant for saving people from drowning.
That comes in handy.
I think he might make a good regular sea sailor. if he had someone to teach him.
Do you have someone in mind to teach him? Say yourself or myself?
Well, sir, I am awful busy maintaining the sail and the trim.
I am glad that it is not me anymore.
Yes, well, sir, I've not stood for a master's license, so I have no hope to become an officer like you.
I think Mr. McDougal could use some mentoring.
Well, sir, I'll leave you to it, for I'm going down to dinner. I have worked up quite an appetite keeping the ship on an even keel.
Sleep well this evening.
As you as well, sir.
And dream peacefully.
Not very likely, sir.
And I'm going to go look for Mr. McDougal.
Yeah, I'm sure you could probably find him up by the forecastle or something.
All right.
I am wherever doing whatever somebody has told me to most recently.
Mr. McDougal.
Mr. Fife?
How are you finding life aboard a ship?
It's fine by me, sir.
Would you like to spend some time with a more experienced seaman? Learn the ways of the ship better?
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot I don't know. I do what people tell me, and I don't do it too badly, but I don't know why I'm doing it most of the time.
No one's explained to you the why?
No need.
Okay. I shall take you under my wing. I've been aboard many a vessel, and I remember my first trip. Well, I was confused, scared, and that was on a normal ship. You were on the Tethys.
Yes, that.
Tell me, what brought you aboard?
Well, just trying to leave Kingsport.
It's such a lovely place. Why would anybody want to leave?
I have reason to believe there were people with more power than I had any ability to fight against who did not want me there.
Understood. Better to make a safe and hasty exit than to wait around for your own ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, come with me. I shall introduce you more intimately with the captain, and make the captain aware that we'll be giving you some more direct mentorship. We will make a fine crew person out of you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And there's this look like, okay, what's the trick? Somebody like, what's going on here? This is way too normal and straightforward. There's got to be something,
Well, I was going to say, James, you're the confidant. Does that mean you have a secret sense?
Yeah. Do I sense? Well, am I able to? So I missed the sessions. Do we know exactly why you were leaving Kingsport? Or is it still
no?
Okay.
I don't think it was anything all that mysterious.
Okay.
I think that I think I pissed someone off who turned out to have connections, and I didn't know that until after I had pissed them off.
Okay. All right. Then I think yeah, so would that count as a secret then, Catherine?
It might. I mean, certainly certainly her true love might count as a secret.
Okay. All right. So I just have to mark that I have your trust, and then that can be spent for certain benefits.
Cool.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and if the captain's dining, I'll wait till the captain's done dining and taking her rounds to give more direct introductions.
So that sounds like a good place for me to put in my innings. So Captain, for dinner that evening, Emily is rode over with Lawrence, the first mate from the charity.
Hello, Emily.
But which is a little odd that Emily should come without the captain.
That is a little odd.
But when they climb on board, Lawrence just says, "Captain's apologies. He finds himself a bit under the weather, ma'am."
Cool. She says, "I'm very sad to hear it, but Emily has come along for dinner."
Well, Captain, says Emily. I didn't think it would be inhospitable for me to not keep our appointment. And Lawrence has happily agreed to escort me here. He's a good man.
Well, far be it for me to turn away such an elegant dinner guest.
Oh, she looks her fan. This is the rare occasion when you're actually able to have all your officers with you. Now, we've never introduced the second and third mate. I'm assuming they're there. I don't know, because I can't make up my mind whether or not I should put them in and then or leave them spots open for future sessions. But let's just say they exist, and I'll think about that during our breaks. But Lawrence is sitting where the captain would normally sit, and somewhere between courses, he just leans over and says, "Captain, have you ever had a Jonah on your ship before?"
Trying to decide if she has. Yes. She gets very quiet for a long moment, and she says, "I'm a person who believes that luck comes with the gods' favor and can't be taken away by any man. But I am also a person who knows the effect that such superstitions can have on a crew. I had a man who shipped out with me, must have been 5 years ago. I was a second mate at the time. And the men on the ship either didn't take a liking to him or didn't know how to cope with his eccentricity and named him a Jonah."
Yeah, but were he a Jonah, Captain? I mean, I'm assuming this were aboard a Pembleton vessel, or perhaps one of the ones from Innsmouth.
After they tossed him overboard, we still lay fallow and still for 2 more days. But then we did catch a wind. So who am I to say that he was or he wasn't? Or that the fact that he was gone didn't just invigorate the men around him into feeling better, working harder. I don't know.
So it was obvious who your Jonah were.
Yeah.
Well, ma'am, it is not obvious at all to me who might be a Jonah on board the charity, but I fear we must have something, for our luck has been mighty against us. The other day, we found that two of the casks had started down in the hold. We lost half the oil in each of them. And just this morrow, one of our most able foretopmen fell off a yardarm, plunged 50 feet to the deck, shattered his leg.
Well, are you asking for somebody to find out who that Jonah is?
Is this something that you know how to do, Captain?
I have someone I might ask.
It's not an easy thing for any officer to admit that there's a problem on their ship they can't solve. But frankly, the captain, well, yes, I suppose we'd accept that. And I guess you need but name your terms.
Well, what if my terms is a good turn in the future?
I'd say that you're one of the most trusting Yankees I've ever met.
And she leans back and swirls her wine in her glass and says, "You don't even know what I might ask yet."
So, James, you're sitting next to Emily the whole time. And when pudding comes out, she sort of swirls her port and says, "Mr. Fife, if I might be so bold, I do somewhat wish that you had taken our friend Lawrence's offer."
Why do you wish that?
Lawrence is a very most able sailor and knows everything there is to know about the hunting of whales, but he doesn't have quite the sort of temperament to make a good captain. And I'm afraid Bradford has just been far too ill lately to be much of a captain. It's just, he can't sleep. And when he does, he wakes up screaming.
Has this been going on for long?
Ever since the first time we lowered.
I observed Lawrence allow one of the harpooners to pick a fight with a visiting first mate. That's not the kind of discipline one should have running a ship. So I think you're right. Not captain material.
Yes, and our second and third are both junior men who were here as favors to other captains to get their own stake and set themselves on the way towards their own licenses. But I know that this is your ship, and I shouldn't wish for such. Without trying to cast any sidelong glance at the captain, she just says, and I know I shouldn't wish for that. That shouldn't be.
Yes, I stand in the very long shadow of loyalty, and am comfortable there.
Well, I do hope you can at least cast a thought to us over on the charity.
I wish all sailors well. It gives me a great displeasure to hear that Bradford has been beset.
Cool. So, when they go to row back over to the charity, it's the sun is just diving into the Pacific. So you've got this wonderful scene where you have the red-orange rays just skimming off the tops of the waves. It's quite beautiful. And then suddenly from the deck of the Tethys, there's a gasp because hovering right over your ship is a beautiful albatross, a universal sign of good fortune. And then from the charity, you hear a gasp, but it is not a happy gasp. Cap, you want to throw a glass over that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hovering over their ship is an albatross, but it is coal black. And albatrosses are not black.
They are not. They are white. Uh. You know, I know an omen when I see one. Um. They're not like on the boat to row back yet, right? They're like standing on our deck.
Yeah, I think the boat had just rowed up next to the ship, so they're just waiting to go down on the ladder on the side.
I lower the glass and I hand it over to the mate from the charity.
He gets super quiet.
If you wanted to perhaps discuss in further length our mutual aid to one another, I believe that I have port below.
He gets very quiet and grim, and you can see varying emotions wrestling on his face. But finally, he says, "We'll most certainly need your Jonas finder. If you want to send him over tonight, I'll be happy to oblige. But I can understand, in the light of events, you're not wishing to do so. My duty is clear. I must be aboard my ship. But if you might find some charity in your heart, Captain, if you wouldn't mind putting up Mrs. Houston for the night, I just feel that she might be safer here."
I would not mind.
Of course, Emily protests for a little while, but Lawrence is one of those flinty New Englanders. He's pretty much, once his mind is made, he's done.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I send them back, and then I go looking for Forbes.
That sounds like a good scene to have. I guess so. Forbes is just an ordinary sailor. He just has a bunk up in the forecastle next to the Chileans for some reason, who I have named. Their names are Domingo Luis and Juan.
Yeah, I make my way below. First I ensconce Emily in my quarters.
Of course, in your room, of course.
Yeah, obviously. She can't just stay out with the men.
Right. And as a reminder for how these things worked on a ship, the rear part of the first deck was called the Great Cabin. Usually, it had the beautiful windows in the back that like give you the whole view out onto the sea, and then there would be little cubby holes, basically just rigged up with temporary walls on the side. So your actual sleeping chamber is just a tiny room, but you have the use of the entire Great Cabin at any time you want because you are the captain. Cool. So yeah. Forbes, are you trying to sleep, or are you up on the forecastle dancing with the other sailors, or at least watching the other sailors dance?
Well, I think that Domingo and I have rather perfected a tango that is very entertaining to everyone. Of course, he's leading, and I am doing a very, very grand job of being the follow. But as I see the captain approach, I kind of disentangle myself, and I head over, and I was just like, I see that there are some ill winds blowing.
I know you're not a sailing man. You know what a Jonas is?
Well, I am familiar with the Bible character, yes.
Jonas is a man who brings ill luck to a ship.
Well, I very much think that one does not need to necessarily be labeled a Jonas to bring misfortune somewhere. I've seen quite a bit of that myself, but do you perhaps believe that there is one of your Jonases aboard this ship or that ship?
The charity.
Yes.
That Black Albatross has me thinking.
Well, that and the gnawed corpse of that whale that we saw the other day.
Indeed. One sign is something I can pass by. Two, starts to get like the gods are talking to me.
Yes, they do like patterns, don't they?
They do. They do. It's almost like they understand that we're not going to listen to them unless they tell us twice.
Mhm. Most people are like that, no matter what they believe.
That is fair. I offered our services to the charity to help them find their Jonas. I think between you and I, we might be able to do it.
Well, I must say, Captain, I am happy to lend my services, but I think that my particular source of knowledge might be considered a bit more valuable than the average Roman. So perhaps there might be some affordances that could be made for my assistance.
I'll tell you what. I have told the charity that if I find them their Jonah, they owe me a favor. If you help me, I owe you a favor.
Well, unlike most sailors that I seem to know, I actually do take you at your word. So consider that a deal.
Excellent. I'll have a boat lowered, and we'll go now.
Oh, a lady of action, I see. I appreciate that.
She's got several knives about her person, and she rests her hand on one and says, "Always Forbes," and then strides off across the deck.
Shooketh. I am shooketh.
Great.
What should we do with Joe? I almost feel that Joe should be part of this landing party. he always ends up in the middle of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, usually just enough to, screw things up for the captain.
Then that seems completely appropriate.
There's always the, hey, you're standing here, you can row, I know Forbes can't thing.
Perfect. Okay, cool. What was I gonna do now? I had a thing. Yeah. So Mr. Fife, as you take your turn around the quarterdeck, since you've been given the con while the captain is away, you're surprised to see Neb the cabin boy is up on the holy quarterdeck, the holy of holies, where he should not be.
Cabin boy,
Mr. Fife, sir.
why are you here?
Well, sir. I was fixing things.
You should not be here. Who asked you to fix these things, or did you take this on your own prerogative?
Well, sir, I saw something amiss, and as I felt it would endanger the ship and crew, I did take it upon myself to fix it.
Tell me, what did you find amiss?
Oh, well, sir, I'm sure. He's like clearly freaking out. He doesn't want to tell you. He doesn't know what to do, though, because you're very scary to him.
You can tell me. I can be trusted.
Well, sir, and he leads you quite innocently, just grabs your hand and leads you over, because he's 12 years old, to part of the railing, and he crouches down because he's so much shorter than you, and points under the railing. He says, "Sir, that conjure mark is wrong. If you leave the mouths unclosed like that, well, that's just bad luck."
Explain this to me. This is not something I'm familiar with. How did you know that?
Oh, well, sir, where I'm from, it's not unusual for families to learn a little in the way of the true arts, and of course, we have our religion.
What's the consequences for this error?
Well, I don't know too much about that sort of thing, but it almost looks like the mark that you would use to talk to one of the Loas, but it's no Loa I recognize, sir.
Out of character, would I know what a Loa is? Or is that...
I mean, you might, because you're pretty widely sailed, so if you'd sailed with any West Indian sailors, you might.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I would, because I would have been on vessels throughout the oceans. Do you think we should leave it this way, or do you think we should have this changed? Clearly, I don't have the ability to do that, but do you?
I don't know too much, sir. But Aunt Marie always told us that we were a family that had a lot of the craft in it. She is a very gifted woman herself, sir.
I was raised by my aunt, and you should always trust a good nurturing aunt like that.
Nurturing. If nurturing means what I think it means, sir, that's an interesting way to describe Aunt Marie. But
you didn't meet my aunt, apparently.
No, sir, I can't say I've had the pleasure.
Well, I thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'm going to discreetly let the captain know, and also discreetly not let the captain know that you were up here.
Oh, thank you, sir. She reminds me much of my aunt. And sir, I think that this, I can't be sure, but this may have been. Well, you remember what happened when we were off the Horn?
Yes.
I thought I had gotten all the marks, sir.
Well, this one seems to have been left.
Yes, left, and he gets very quiet and stares off for a while, and then he realizes he's still on the quarterdeck and hot puts it off.
All right, and the captain's already headed over, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to stand the watches tonight.
Yeah, and Mr. Greenwood won as well.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll then continue standing watch.
Cool. Cool. So the rest of you row over on one of the whale boats to the Bark Charity. And Lawrence peers down over the side and then nods, and you guys come aboard, and the rest of your boat crew hot tails it the hell out of there. But there you are, the three of you standing on the deck of the Charity again. I don't think Forbes or Joe notice it, but you do, Charlotte. Everything is in the right place, and the ship is, rigged correctly to do anything it needs to do, but there's just a slackness about it, it's like something is just loose somewhere,
Yeah.
Everybody seems a little dispirited and quiet. There's in contrast to your ship, there's nobody up on the forecastle playing fiddle and dancing.
Right. So what I would like to do is I would like to read a situation.
That sounds like an appropriate idea to do.
9 and 11. So I roll an 11. I get to ask 3. What should I be on the lookout for? Who or what is in control here, and what here is not what it seems?
Those are all excellent questions, aren't they? Okay, what should you be on the lookout for? Whatever is causing these misfortunes, you don't think that they're a coincidence. You think there's some kind of act of will powering them. It may not be just simple unlucky sailor. There may actually be some malevolent will at work here.
Cool.
Who or what is in control here? Nobody. The captain is incapacitated. Lawrence is not a good first officer. The ship has not completely succumbed to whatever malevolence is attacking it, as you can see, but it's not exactly very purposeful right now. And what should you be on the lookout for? That's an excellent question. I should be on the lookout for this cat that's going to bite me in a second.
Yeah, I can see that little ear.
Yeah.
Face.
Ambush.
Yeah. Okay, so I and I think that the way that like that Rita situation actually looks is that like I spend a considerable amount of time sort of walking the deck and like looking at everything and like running my hands over the wood and like all this stuff, and I'm like reading everything that's going on. And then I come back to Forbes and I pull him aside, him and Joe, and I say, I don't know if it's a Jonah, but there is something going on this ship.
So at this, Forbes is kind of like very quickly like flipping through like pages of a small notebook that he always keeps in his pocket. And if you take a glance at it, you actually see that like it's not written in like standard like like romantic letters. It's in this like strange scrawl of symbols that are like indecipherable. And he says just like it's like yes there's something strange going on, and I'm just trying to find a way to do something about it.
Well, I think we need to find out exactly what it is first.
Do you think it's a person doing it?
It's unlikely, I think, but and I look back up at the back up at the albatross, and I think it's like, but I think there's something I can do, and so what I'd like to do.
Tell it to go away.
And I kind of look at you, and I'm just like it sounds a little bit like snarky, but I know that like there's a part of you that actually believes it. So I'm like, yes, that is what I was about to try. And so I'm gonna I look up at it and I'm like, unfortunately, it is not a raven, so it does not speak a tongue that I am familiar with. So and then I say, I'm going to try to sense what is beyond. And I'm just going to describe real quickly. It's like there's a psalm in this book that my cousin used to always talk about. It should help me figure things out. It is unfortunately in Aklo, and I don't speak Aklo very well, but we shall try it, shall we not? So so I find the verse and I start chanting in this horrible guttural language that does not sound pleasant to listen to at all. And I get a 3. I tried.
Oh, Forbes. One day you will roll a 7. And we'll be there for you when you do. Okay. That albatross comes and settles on one of the yard arms right near you. And as you start to chant, it starts to croak. And you know what? You can almost understand it. But the words it's telling you are words of insult and malice, and basically informing you that whatever power you think you might have, it's not going to avail you at all, which is a complicated thing to get across with just croaks in quasi-Aklo. But what can I say? The birds, when you got it, and this bird's got it. Then you'd swear that if it was possible, because it's not, because it has a beak, right? It's not possible that it gave you a smirk and then sailed off into the air.
And I kind of stand there dumbfounded, and I look to the others who I'm assuming are looking very expectantly at me, and I say,
What did it say?
Some things that would make a sailor blush, and nothing useful. And I like close my book and I tuck it back in my pocket, and I'm just like, well.
All right. Well, why don't I give this a shot? Let's see how this goes. Let's see. Can I do?
I don't suppose killing it would be good luck.
Probably not.
I mean, it is a I don't know, reverse albatross. So maybe killing it would be a good thing.
I'm just going to say right now that good luck. Good luck.
So I'm going to sense what's beyond. I just rolled a 7, and I think that the way this looks is she doesn't often get very serious about her religion, but she has just now. And I think she mounts the quarterdeck and like begins drawing along the rail in chalk a whole bunch of different sigils and symbols. And then sort of just stands there very quietly for a little while until she like receives what she needs, which fragments and mysteries apparently are going to be the thing.
Well, I should tell you, on the cosmic public radio station that you're now tuned to, that where Mr. Greenwood felt nothing but malice and menace, you feel a strange calm that you're not in any danger here.
Huh. Interesting.
Isn't it, though?
So Lawrence is there, right?
Yeah. He was about to say something when he burst onto the quarterdeck, then he just shrugged and turned away.
So she walks off the quarterdeck, like smudging all the symbols as she goes, and then walks straight up to Lawrence and says, "Do you have anything on this ship that is counter to the old gods?"
He looks at you, blinks, and says, I dearly beg your pardon, what?
Do you have anything on this ship that would be an insult or an affront to the gods of our pagan ancestors?
Captain Greenwood, mayhap it be that I have not graced the meeting house in these 20 years, but I'll have you know, ma'am, that I am a good Nantucket Quaker, and I would have no truck with any old gods whatsoever.
I'll take that as a yes.
What would I have? What do I know? I reck not of the old gods, if there are any. To me, it seems that one god tasking me is all that I need. I need no more trouble from any others.
I am certain that what threatens this ship does not threaten me. And the difference between me and those on this ship is that you are all, I am assuming, good God-fearing Quakers.
No, I mean, some of us are Hindus, but...
Whereas I am a follower of the old ways. So if I walk here with no harm to be done to me...
Well, I suppose the rest of us can't be in league with the old evil one, ma'am, but... I may not have much of a soul, but I'd sell it a lot dearer than that.
I'll tell you what, Lawrence. I estimate that you have a limited amount of time to come correct in front of the gods which have decided to turn their ill favor on this ship. I am going to get on my longboat. I recommend that you chuck overboard anything that might offend them.
He looks very much on the point of proposing you as the thing that he chucks overboard. Then he just sort of grimly nods and says, "Well, if the seeking of a Jonah requires me to make a deal with Mr. Scratch, then I just as fain not. I'll find him on my own."
Best of luck to you, sir. And she motions to her crew and gets off the boat.
This is fine.
This is fine.
Everything is
Joe
fine.
is looking around for someone to borrow a gun from. So yeah, you kind of looks around. Are you sure? Because it's right there. We could definitely shoot it.
Oh my god, please just shoot the albatross. I want to know what happens if you just shoot the albatross.
Can I?
Yeah. Take a gun off somebody and act with force. Let's see what happens.
I will do that. Sure.
I'm so down.
I just have to think about the fictional circumstances of getting a gun. You're a stowaway, right? You've got that kind of quiet and secret thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, roll that, because what you would have had to do is sneak down into the captain's cabin, which is usually where any of the muskets would be kept.
Okay. Well, I need to open the. Oh, it's right here. Oh, that can't be good. What is? Never be found.
It's balance.
It's balance. My balance is 2. 7.
Well, so you get to choose 2.
Oh, I want to see here, find something of interest.
Of course.
And I want to leave nothing at the scene.
Of course. So when you come into the cabin, you see the captain. He has not shaved in several days, nor bathed. He is strapped into his bunk, and he is raving constantly, including in words that sound very much like the little canticle that Mr. Forbes just sang on deck.
Huh.
And as you're going, as you reach up and grab one of the muskets, suddenly you feel his eyes on you, burning on the back of your head, and you turn around and he's just staring straight at you. And then he turns away like he doesn't know what you are.
Captain?
He just is raving again.
Has your ship surgeon seen to you? You don't look healthy. You don't sound.
I am like the thinnest of planks, balancing over the precipice. When I am gone, we will all plunge to the abyss.
Okay, then. And as I leave, I look for somebody to tell, hey, did you have a doctor on board? Because this is I think you have a problem. I think your captain's probably dying.
I think you run into Chandra again. And he's like, "Oh, hello, my friend Joe." It's like, "Yes. It's unfortunate. I feel for poor Mrs. Emily."
Do you know what's wrong with him?
Who can say what drives a man mad on the seas?
Well, I don't. There's something very strange on your ship.
Wow.
Do you know did you take anything on board at the last port, or
No, we've had nothing but success on this voyage. I mean, not the hunting hadn't really begun in earnest, but even so, we had taken a few whales. The ship's always been lucky. In fact, the fact of the matter is, until we began our cruise with you, we never had anything but good luck.
did you get rid of anything at the last port?
I can ask around, Joe.
Our captain thinks you're offending, one god or another, and
he nods like, yeah, that's difficult.
It's too bad we don't know which one.
Well, there are many gods, Joe. There are a lot of gods.
Is there any that use black albatrosses as messengers?
I'm sure. I'm not as skilled in the scriptures as my brother.
Your brother on board?
No. He was smart and took service with the East India Company.
All right. Well, yeah, if I were you, I'd try to find out what changed. If you were lucky before and you aren't now. It does. Yeah, I think my captain's right. Defending somebody.
I will see what I can find out, Joe. And if I can, I will send you a message.
I think Joe's having second thoughts about shooting the albatross now that he's like talking to a person who's likely to suffer from any really stupid things he does right now.
Well, then we could take our break now, and you can think about what you want to do next. Does that work?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's do that, and then we'll pick up with Joe and the albatross and the old man in the sea and everything else. So I'll see you guys in about 5. Okay. Cool. So I guess Joe, you come out on deck with a musket, huh?
I do, and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, as much out of character as I would like to see what happens, I don't think Joe is that much of an idiot. But I do tell Forbes that I heard the captain speaking like a similar language, and that maybe he should go talk to him.
Similar to the psalm that I was singing earlier.
Sounded, to my ear, it sounded almost the same.
Well, that's very interesting. I should think that perhaps I would like to and I signal, oh, Captain. I think it would be rather beneficial to have a word with the captain of the charity. Is that a thing you could arrange?
She just walks towards the captain's quarters.
And I follow along closely.
Yeah. So I walk in. Is he still just speaking in tongues? Is anybody trying to stop me?
No. I mean, actually, no, yes. Lawrence kind of gets in your ways. Like, just where do you think you're going, ma'am?
I understand your captain is taken ill. I'm going to check on him before we leave.
I had not realized that you had leechcraft added to your many skills, Captain Goodwin.
From what I understand, it's not that kind of illness.
Our surgeon is doing a capable job of helping him through this difficult period. And if you're there to... What exactly would you offer our captain? The same offer you made to me?
So I think at this point, I actually slide in and I say, please forgive me, but we did not mean to cast any doubt upon your surgeon's skills. It just so happens that I happen to be a doctorately educated man myself, and I thought I could lend my own opinion. And you see, I can be quite helpful in a pinch, and I'm trying to manipulate another.
That does sound like that exactly what you were trying to do.
Yes, and I actually have a +2 on this, so let's hope I don't roll below like a 4. Like a 5. Are you kidding? Wait, did it? Yeah, I don't know if it like rolled, but it was like the exact same, and the dice didn't change.
Yeah, I have no problem with doing a reroll to make sure it's correct.
Okay, that time it's a 9.
On a 79. So, Lawrence leans into you and says, Mr. Greenwood, the captain is not well at all. He doesn't talk sense anymore. His mind is deranged. He needs rest, and he needs care, and he needs familiar people. I can't see where having a stranger come into his cabin in the middle of the night is going to help him any great ways back towards sanity. And then he leans back.
And so is he demanding a concrete assurance then?
He is, you got a 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is telling you what you want to know, or what at least what he thinks you want to hear.
So,
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm looking at intimidate another. I'm sorry. You're right. Manipulate. You're right. I'm so sorry. That was on me. He thinks about it some more. So finally, do you have any experience with the mad?
And then I smile very knowledgeably and I say, well, you see, it is precisely his kind of senselessness that I happen to be a bit of an expert in.
Very well, you can go, but you keep that half-witch captain of yours out on the deck. I'll watch her. I am well aware of the irony of that statement, by the way.
And I look over at the captain and I just give a nod, like a is that okay kind of nod, like a mm-hmm. Oh, you're muted.
She nods back at you, and you can see this really mischievous look on her face, like she's gonna spend the next however long fucking with Lawrence to the best of her ability.
There's like the Greenwood part of me like sees that and is just like, I gotcha. Okay, cool. I'll take my time. And then so I go into the cabin and I see like, well, I assume I see like the same scene, but I want to know, is the captain speaking in Aklo right now, or is he is he kind of is he at his senses, or?
He's at first he didn't seem to make any sense, but then when you walk in, he kind of just starts muttering for a while, and he says, "Sing a song of sixpence." He looks straight at you.
And like I kind of like double take at the nursery rhyme, and then devil. I come a little bit closer and I say, Captain, would you, could you tell me a little bit about the blackbird that we saw above the mast today? It certainly wasn't baked into a pie.
He rolls his head to you, and he gets a mischievous grin and says, I wouldn't think that I'd have to tell you anything about blackbirds now, would I?
Well, we've I kind of like take a step back and I like bristle a little bit and I say, I don't actually even say anything to respond to that. Instead, I start singing the Aklo verse again, and I'm gonna try to see what's beyond, sense what's beyond here. Well, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to try to read another's thoughts, and we're gonna see how that goes. because he's obviously on a different wavelength, and I'm going to see if I can get into his headspace. And it's a 4. Like, with my stat, it's a 4. I literally rolled snake eyes.
You are seriously paying for the sins of all the Greenwoods that have gone before you.
We weren't that bad.
No. The problem is there's no hot... Wait a minute, there is a hot stat in this. How do you not have +2 beauty?
I do have +2 beauty, and I have +2 brains. Hot and cold are my stats, and they're still failing me.
Wow. Okay. You're singing, and you start to sing, and he cuts you off brusquely. He says, I don't need to hear you try and chew your way through song, boy. I already hear the singing, the real singing from below. It sings a song of the end of the world, my friend. End of our world.
And I kind of, I sit down, I try to sit down again, and I'm just be like, well, I've heard those songs before. Maybe I can't sing them as eloquently as you, or as my cousin, or as other people, but to say that I don't know the verses would be inaccurate. And you seem to be in rather a different state than I found you last time that we saw each other, when you had dinner with my captain. So why don't you tell me, what exactly is it that's going on here that you seem so gleefully enjoying? And I'm going to try to read a situation with totally different dice this time. I deleted those other dice. And you know what? That one's a 10.
Ask me your 3 questions, and we'll see what we get.
So what here is not as it seems.
You're not really sure that you're talking to the captain.
Who or what is in control here?
I'm trying to think, because it could go either. It's either you or the old powers of the earth. I'm just not sure which one. I think that's the answer. Right now, things are balanced.
And then what should I be on the lookout for?
I will tell that to you in the form of dialogue. Dunwitcher, child of the forest, your roots go deep, but now you are quite literally unmoored. Do you not understand that the roots of the world go deep, deep, deep into the ocean? There are chasms that are bottomless here. And you think to test your wits against them?
It is not wits I wish to test. It is merely my patience, apparently. I don't want to be a part of this petty squabble between whatever dark forces are laying claim to the sea right now. I merely want to get home. And unfortunately, it seems that that is going to be delayed more and more until we can figure this out. So, is there some sort of offering I should be making? It seems that obviously the traditional ways are not seeming to meet muster nowadays.
He starts going into a very violent struggle. What do you do?
Well, I am a trained professional, so I'm gonna attempt to like restrain him. And yeah, was that an act under pressure, or
That is so acting under pressure.
with my 0 balance? Okay,
Such pressures, so much
Yeah.
acting.
all right. And that's a 10, a natural 10.
Oh my goodness. You lucky, lucky person. So when you come over to hold him down, that human touch seems to help him for a minute. And he just looks, there's like a moment where like his face kind of wrestles with itself. And then he looks up at you and says, ask your captain about what troubles us. And then he just rolls over and starts sobbing, Emily, Emily, Emily.
And then the last kindness that I do is I pull a little sedative out of my pocket that I've scored from our surgeon previously, and I drop it in his water glass, and I hand that to him, and then I leave.
Fantastic. Cool. Cool. So I guess you reconvene on the deck. So you've been just trying to get under Lawrence's skin, huh? Do we need a roll for that, or
Is there an annoying people roll?
no? That would be intimidate. I don't think you're trying to really intimidate him.
No, I think I've just been being like extra witchy and weird on the deck. Like I think I took off my boots at one point and like walked across into the deck and like I like wrote some symbols out that don't actually mean anything. I keep like making chalk marks everywhere and he keeps like having to smudge them out as I walk away because I'm just really annoyed.
Rihanna.
Listen,
Just doing the full Stevie Nicks, huh?
I'm going full Nicks. I've got a hat,
Scarves.
like 12 scarves.
You know, I believe you. I believe
Yeah.
you. Cool. So yeah, Lawrence looks like he's about ready to get a rope when Forbes comes walking out.
And I quickly like get between the two of them, and I say, it's like, yes, I do believe that it is. We've overstayed our welcome, Captain. If we could have a word, and Joe too. I think it is best that we depart and return another time.
All right. She very seriously like walks over to talk to you, and then as soon as you say that, I turn around and I say, "Merry meet and merry part and merry meet again," and then swing over the side of the deck.
I follow much more carefully.
I kind of look at Forbes like, is our captain going crazy too?
Yeah.
Someone around here.
It's just like I don't think it's contagious. I think she's just trying to make a point.
Yeah, you can hear her like laughing as she climbs all the way down the side of the boat.
Okay. Yep. I'll get in the boat. Shaking my head at captains in general, I think.
I think as we're rowing back, she says, "I think I wrote an entire Shakespearean sonnet in Latin on that boat. Did you see how upset he was?"
But you certainly seemed to have agitated him greatly, which I think was your intention. So you are very successful on that.
I am just very tired and very weary of men who think that they can tell me what to do or who deliberately misinterpret my religious and spiritual beliefs. My religious beliefs. Spiritual has a different meaning.
Yes, well, I do think we should have a discussion about the interpretations of your beliefs, actually, because the dear captain or whatever chose to speak through him specifically directed me back to you.
Really?
Yes, it was well, and then at that moment I like pause and I look over at Joe and I'm just like, and I'm like, I do this double take thing and it's like, should I keep talking?
She leans over and says, "Joe, would it unsettle you if we were to talk about religious things around you?"
Not half as much as everything else that's happened the past few days.
Right ahead, my Greenwood friend.
Yes, well, I do believe that things. I'm sorry, Joe. I do believe things are going to continue along at their current trajectory. I think that they might actually get much, much worse. So, my family has a long-standing tradition with the old ones of the sea. We are not necessarily affiliated. We are not a member of that family, but we are very closely knit to them. And I believe that one of them was speaking through the captain, and I believe that that is the root of his madness. He seems not to be a believer himself. He seems merely to be overtaken.
So what did it want?
Well, quite frankly, I'm not quite sure. It just continued to allude to things to come, and it directed me back to you.
To me with what? A question, a command, a direction?
So full stop. I'm actually totally spacing on what
Yeah.
I should have taken from that conversation to deliver to the captain.
Yeah, stop.
All you know is that when you wanted to find out why things were happening, whatever was talking through Bradford said to ask your captain.
And then I say, well, you see, it seems that the nexus for all of this is very likely to be you. It seems that when I asked what was the cause of all of it, it said to talk to you.
We'll talk in my cabin.
Yes, sir.
She goes very stony-faced, says that, and then turns so that she can look at the Tethys as it gets bigger and bigger.
I glance over at Joe, and I'm just like, I kind of mouth is like, is that normal? Is that a normal reaction for her?
She doesn't really have any normal reactions.
Noted. And then I just kind of settle back into silence.
Awesome. So you come back aboard and meet Mr. Fife, and Neb scurries to get your cabin ready. And
yeah, I think I grab Mr. Fife and motion for Greenwood to follow me down to my quarters. What was the name of that friendship again?
The Era.
The Era. We get downstairs. I close the door. I take the whole bottle out of my drawer and I tip it back. And I say, remember the Era?
Aye.
Remember that the Era's luck was given to us. I think that's happening again with the charity.
That all their good fortune has come to us,
Mm-hmm.
and all our ill fortune has gone to them.
I think so. And I cannot decide if that is a good thing.
So you're telling me that somehow you are transferring the good fortune of other people to yourself. And this is a recent development.
I think it was the ritual that your cousin did.
Does this have something to do with those sigils that I've seen scrawled across the decks?
Yeah, she put them there.
I noticed something with those sigils this evening.
What's that?
One of them seems to be a summoning for one of the voodoo gods.
The Loa.
Yes, I believe that's what they're called.
Which one?
Well, there you've got me. That is beyond my knowledge.
Is it possible to see this mark? Because quite honestly, voodoo is not really. I wasn't aware that was my sister's specialty. We come from slightly more English stock.
English. Yeah, we can go look. It's up on the quarterdeck.
And then,
But first, a drink. The captain has brought out this fine. And then we'll...
And I look at the two of you and I say, "Oh, this is for me right now." And then I pour a little bit into a couple glasses and hand them over to you.
Brace myself, and then we'll head up there and I'll find the area and point out the signal to them.
yeah, and you see that actually, I looked at the glass and I take only the slightest nip, and then I set it down still mostly full. And I just, there's this kind of casual afterthought of saying, like, it's best if I keep my composure. And slips like after Fife.
Cool. See what I want to do here. Yes. So, Joe, while you're on deck, you see Emily just sort of walking aimlessly around the ship. And she stops several times and just looks back at the Charity.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll walk up and join her. Ma'am? Is there anything I can do for you?
Oh. I suppose anybody who's been around long enough has had someone close to them fall ill, deathly ill, right?
I'd say you're very lucky if you haven't, but that doesn't seem like the appropriate thing to say.
Your name is Joe, isn't it?
Yes.
Where are you from, Joe?
Yeah, Scotland originally.
Oh, I've never been. I'd always wanted to, but Bradford said that Glasgow was no fit place for a woman. I don't know what he meant by that, but...
It's cold and rainy. You're not missing much.
Wow. I'm from Missouri originally, actually.
It's far from the ocean.
Yes. In the spring, when the lilacs and the cherries were blooming, there were so many birds because they were all flying up north, and so they flew over where we were. They all sang so beautifully.
Not like the birds out here.
No. Is it strange to hear singing on the ocean?
A lot of stories that mention things that sing in the ocean, and none of them end well that I've ever heard.
I was afraid of that. Sometimes I think I hear the birds singing again.
They say whales sing. A bit like birds.
Yes. I guess whales would probably not sing anything very nice to us, right?
No. Might sound... I imagine birdsong sounds nice to us, but I doubt they're saying anything good about us either.
Have you ever heard any singing on the ocean, Joe?
No. Seen a lot of things that shouldn't be there, though. So I don't doubt you at all that you've heard things that shouldn't be out here.
I wonder if that's what Bradford saw.
I don't know. He's talking nonsense. When I was there a little while ago, Mr. Greenwood spoke to him, and I think managed to get. I don't know. Managed to get him to speak rationally. So I suppose that's a good sign.
Her eyes perk up, but then she gets sad again. I still fear I'm going to lose him.
I hope not, ma'am.
Cool. So, on the quarterdeck, I guess we have James and Forbes and the captain and young Neb, who's probably now trembling in his boots. If he were wearing boots, which he's not, because he's a sailor. So he's just kind of pointing up at the rail where the sign is. Like, begging my pardon, Mr. Forbes, is this a thing that you are well versed in?
And then just for my understanding out of character, so this is definitely one that Phoebe cast, and so it's definitely Phoebe's kind of magic, or
It is. That much I'll give to you for free. It is for sure not something that she would have carved.
not Phoebe's. Okay. And I say, no. This is not my cousin's handiwork at all. This is something much different. Give me a moment, and I go over there and I start like tracing my finger along the edges of it.
Start doing that, and he just grabs your wrist. Like, I wouldn't do that if I were you, sir.
And I say, well, I just, I really must see if I can figure this out. So, but I guess I can just look, and I'm gonna try to sense what's beyond by studying the patterns. I'm rolling a lot today. That's nice. And it's that's with beyond, which is a 0 for me. So that's a 9.
Fragments and visions.
Oh no.
So you're probably your heart sinks a little. This is a tradition of symbolism that is only very rarely encountered. Your family has books. Phoebe doesn't. They wouldn't trust her with this kind of book. But there are many entities that exist in the outer world, and some apparently mark this ship for their own particular pleasure or conquest or whatever. And from the dark rumors you've heard about the storm on Cape Horn, that seems to explain that. But what is bothering you is that this sign looks younger than when the ship rounded Cape Horn.
I kind of turn nervously back to the captain and I say, it appears that something has laid its name upon this ship, and it happened fairly recently. In fact, more recently than your little incident at the Cape that I've heard only bits and pieces about.
So someone on the ship marked it.
I cannot say for sure, but it was definitely not here when I boarded this ship.
Okay. I'm going to do a dumb thing, and I'm going to try and sense what's beyond, which has never gone well and did not go well this time. I rolled a 4. Maybe we traded places, Greenwood. So right. So I step forward, and I like bend to inspect the marks myself. And I guess make things worse, Jam.
That apparently is what whoever carved this sign was waiting for, because immediately your mind is seized again, like it was off the Cape. And in desperation, you call upon your gods, I think.
Okay.
And once more, you have that vision, that long plunge into the water. And in front of you is our old friend, the Noteback.
Oh no. Great.
So,
So I've got a question. Would I be able to examine this and use my ability to see speaks?
I think you will. Let me just see what happens with the captain, and then we'll get right to that. Yep. Cool. So, the creature looks at you, Charlotte, and once more with that voice of the Mother of Thunder says, "And why wouldst I help thee?"
And she does her best to sort of compose herself in front of her god, and says, "For I have ever been your faithful servant, bringing your might and glory into the world."
There'll come a time when you will do more than mouth those words. But for that, you shall be given a sign tonight, and a reminder of whose power you serve.
Oh God.
And you fall to the deck in a faint. But James, you were looking at this sign, trying to figure it out with your sea magic.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Dog is barking, so enjoy. Ooh, I got a 13.
That's fantastic. And let me pull up the list of questions.
A10 plus S3. Who made this?
If you had a hazard a guess, it's definitely one of Orin's kin.
Yeah.
If not, well, as far as anybody knows, Orin perished in the storm. He was washed overboard in a wave and never seen again.
Then let's see, what else do we get? What other choices? The rest, I think we already know. What strong emotions have been recently near this? What words have been said recently? What's been done recently?
Oh, if you want to ask me something off the read a situation list, that would seem appropriate.
Who or what is in control here?
Well, now, there is some malignant force. Well, maybe not malignant. The thing is that the force is not malignant towards your captain, but it is plenty malignant towards the captain of the charity. And that seems to be ordering things to its own design.
All right, and then for the third, I'll let you see if this is interpretable in a way that is helpful to you, or at least for narrative sense. What's my best way in, way out, or way past? If not, I'll pick another one.
Well, now, best for who? You personally? The Tethys?
The Tethys.
The charity? Oh, the Tethys.
Oh, you know what? I want to know the captain of the charity.
Your best bet would be for you to separate. For him to go to shore and for you to not.
Okay. And I'll let Mr. Greenwood and the captain know what I discovered through my short study here.
All right. Well, the captain collapses right next to you, Forbes.
Yeah, we should do something about
Yeah,
that.
I think Emily sees that and comes running up, breaking off her conversation with Joe right at that moment. So yeah, what y'all doing?
So I think I very quickly step between Emily and the captain. I say, I basically say, Miss Houston, Mrs. Houston, it's just a fainting spell. It's the captain was suddenly taken ill, but I'm sure she's fine. Would you like us to accompany you back to your ship? I'm sure your husband would be most willing. Wait, she's supposed to stay here, isn't she?
Well, she's supposed to stay here, but the captain's currently unconscious.
I say, yeah, so I'm gonna offer that. I feel like if you would like to see your husband, I'm sure we can arrange to have you returned to the charity. And in fact, it is my professional medical opinion that you should probably have him taken to land. I do think his recuperation is only more drawn out the longer he stays at sea. And is that a manipulate?
I think it is, but I'm not sure who you're manipulating because she's looking. No, you're manipulating her. Whether or not you'll be able to have it out with the first mate over this is going to be up to you.
Okay. So, well, I mean, I got a 5, so I don't think it matters. And it's back.
She basically is not hearing you at all. She's trying to. She's rubbing a damp cloth on the captain's forehead. What are you doing, Mr. Fife?
We don't have our surgeon anymore, right?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, yes.
I'm less versed in the ways of the strange. I would be my natural inclination would be to run for the surgeon and get them, and but I'd take the captain somewhere other than the quarterdeck. I don't want to see the captain being
right. Well,
or anything by the crew.
Emily says that to take her to her cabin and that she'll watch over her and nurse her.
Oh, I don't think that she would like me in her cabin. Would you be able to assist her into bed?
Yeah, of course, Mr. Fife. Thank you, Mr. Fife.
I will stop at the door.
Mr. Fife, do keep an eye out for the charity if you can spare an eye on your watch.
I will do what I can. I fear that we should try to make land as soon as possible. Get the charity away from these deeper waters.
Perhaps. Okay. So
that was Neb freaking out there. That sound.
Yeah. So as night stealthily drops its cloak over the Tethys, Mr. Forbes, and I'm gonna say Mr. McDougal because you always hear these things because you're sneaky. You hear singing. You wake up in a start and you hear someone singing on deck, or at least it sounds like they're on deck.
Yeah, obviously I'm gonna sneak out and see what's who's singing or what's singing, because I think at this point, Joe is making no assumptions.
And Mr. Forbes?
Yeah, the same. At this point, I realize that this is not just going to be like a long journey home. This is yet another trial that I am facing. So I must face it head on.
Cool. So you get out on the deck, which is again bathed in the moonlight. And the singing seems to be coming from all around. But then you see that albatross is standing on the forecastle. And it raises its wings, and then in a moment, something happens, like a shadow falls across the moon. But when your eyes stop being dazzled, there's a absolutely beautiful woman wearing a long white dress standing there.
Do I recognize her?
Nope. You don't know anybody of ethereal beauty because you don't hang out at Kate Blanchett's house.
Headcanon accepted. So I slowly creep forward, and I don't. So I'm gonna run this by you and see if this is a thing. Can I use others like me at this point? Which is my move to like when I call on creatures like me for aid.
Yes.
Okay, so that's with Beyond. So let's hope I don't get another 3. Okay, so that's an 11 this time.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So,
So you get to choose one.
yeah. So. I feel like if we say this is kind of like a dreamy kind of thing, that makes sense. And then I'm totally fine if like Joe is like like shared dreams on this particular thing. So
yeah, let me think about how this will happen to other people. But this woman steps forward to you and she just runs one hand down your face. Why have you not joined us?
And I kind of like pull my face away from her hand and I say, because I am not one of you. I am a son of the earth, and I will be that again.
But you've been given wings. Why not join us in the air?
Because I want to hold on to what is in my head, and the longer I stay in the air, the less I remember.
But the more you will learn.
And yet I don't know that what you have to offer is sufficient to forget everything I know here.
Are I not fair to you?
Truly, you are the most beautiful thing I have ever laid eyes on.
Well, what ties you to this ship of men?
And I kind of close my eyes, and like these black tears start rolling down my face again. And I say, I cannot, I cannot do anything until I have made her pay.
Well, ravens were ever vengeful birds. And she pulls a thread from her dress and hands it to you. If you think being a bird more fair for your circumstances, then use that.
And I like take the thread and I kind of like very carefully wind it around my like left ring finger, and I clench it in my hands and say, I think about it all the time.
Cool. So Joe, I almost feel like I might be forcing this slightly, but your true love is talking with this ethereal, beautifully beautiful gull lady.
Mhm.
Do you think your love is still true?
I have no idea. I think I should probably roll for that, huh?
I mean, only if you think it's appropriate, but
Yeah, I'm gonna roll for it since this is not a thing I have done anything at all with the
Yeah.
entire time, aside from like, you know, follow Forbes around creepily once in a while, which is basically just what I do to everybody. So it's not even specific to him. That's just flat, or is that? Wait,
it's plus beyond, I believe.
Plus beyond. So it's flat 8.
Oh. Your love is true, but nothing in this life is simple. Take +2 to your next roll, but I get to choose 1.
That seems appropriate.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's tainted by strange desires or ulterior motives.
Yep.
Cool. So Cap, you wander in strange dreams where birds figure very prominently in strange and creepy ways that I will allow you to fill in from whatever own bird anxieties you may or may not have.
Oh, great, good.
But you wake up somewhere in the witching hour because there's a tapping. There's a tapping on the glass.
As if someone gently rapping.
Yes, wow.
Great, good.
Emily is asleep at the foot, is just kind of curled up with like leaning over the foot of your bed, asleep, quite beautiful in the moonlight. But as you stumble out into the great cabin, you hear that tapping.
Yeah, I follow it.
Cool.
In the Choose Your Own Adventure book, this is the wrong choice.
Yes, probably. So you just open up one of the windows and lean out, and the water is boiling down in the wake of the ship. And then suddenly, a tentacle lifts out of the waves. Wrapped in it is Lawrence Zaharias, first mate of the Charity. He stares up at you with waterlogged, half-drowned eyes in horror.
Can I get through the window?
That would most certainly be acting under pressure.
Yeah, I'm going to try and dive in after him. Because if there's anything Charlotte really likes doing, it's acting heroically. That's plus balance, right?
Yes, it is.
I roll a 12.
All right, so you dive right through the window. He's being pulled back underwater by this tentacle.
Yeah.
But you swim up to him and like you're close enough to grab his hand.
I guess act with force, or is it acting under pressure or act with force to?
I think it's gonna have to be act with force here.
Okay. So I rolled a 7, which means I get to choose 2. I'm going to choose you take definite hold of it and suffer little harm.
Those are both good ideas.
Yeah. So I think I like my goal here is to like wrestle him free and get to the surface with him.
Cool. You wrestle him free, and below you, the creature opens its toothy maw again. And you're like, no back.
Yeah.
It's most assuredly acting under pressure to get back to the ship in time to climb out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to roll again. 8. I roll a 10.
Excellent. All right. So you get to the side of the ship, but there's no way on earth you have enough strength to drag Lawrence up because he's complete dead weight and the water is chillingly cold, way colder than it should be for your latitude.
Yeah.
But you can shout for help.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just shout like man overboard, all sorts of things until somebody hears me.
I think that's probably Joe. I mean, it's his gig, isn't it?
That's pretty much, yeah. Joe just lurks around on board waiting
This
to
whole deal.
rescue people.
In case of
I love it.
in case of man overboard, break glass and take Joe out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I will go help with this.
I think you're gonna have to act under pressure. But the
Sure.
good news is you get another +2 on this roll. So it's
That is
fantastic.
true. I do.
Thank goodness for Joe. Oh God, what did you roll?
Okay.
It's
4
still
plus
an
2 is 6. Act under pressure, that's balance.
Yes.
Right? Okay, I might have succeeded. Yes, I did. It's 8.
Okay, that's fantastic. You take definite hold of the captain and you're dragging her out. And Captain, you're holding on to Lawrence. And then no, yes, it's much worse this way. Then suddenly both of you are able suddenly, Joe, you're able to pull them straight out of the water. That's because Lawrence just got a lot lighter.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
By like half or by like a quarter?
I like half.
Bitch.
I'm sorry, but you did everything right, but you still angered your god.
I think I let go of him when that happens. Like, enjoy, I guess.
Cool.
And I think I scream, "Sweet God in heaven!" Like, as I get hauled up onto the ship.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, you get hauled up, a lot faster suddenly, because I don't think I really like see what's going on. I'm just like, okay, pull really hard,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's...
And I think as soon as I get up on deck, I start ordering the crew about to get us moving as fast as possible. Because screw all this.
Bill comes out, rubbing his eyes like, what heading, Captain?
Away. We were headed north, right?
You're north and west.
Yeah, north and west.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.
There needs to be a roll. I'm just not sure what it is.
Is it I don't know. It could be acting under pressure.
That is a good all around. Yeah, but I'm going to give you a cat special here, Serafina. I'm so sorry. I'd like you to roll it with beyond instead of balance, please.
Of course you would. Of course you would like to do that.
Yes, I would.
Great, good. My beyond is 0, right? It's not a minus. Oh, thank Christ, because I rolled an 8.
Oh, that's good.
Thank God.
All right, so you get underway. And at first the wind is fine, and you're making some time, and the Charity is slowly sinking down behind you. But just when you would get to the point where it would be almost on the horizon line, the wind dies completely.
Great. So
all
now
the sails go slack.
Is this just worse outcome? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
You got a little bit away.
Got a little bit away. I think I make for the quarterdeck. And like kneel down. And I'm gonna roll with beyond again.
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a glutton for punishment, to try and speak to my god and beg for mercy or help or I don't even know. I don't know. Whatever it is. And I rolled an 8 again.
So this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You do not get that vision again of you diving through the water.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep chanting, and at some point you realize that you must have a little lost time there, because when you come back to yourself, you've written in chalk in front of you apostate, and then beneath it penance, and then beneath that hecatomb.
Great. What's hecatomb?
Hecatomb, I guess it's pronounced, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why you came out of it is Bill is like kind of hitting and grabbing you by the shoulder. It's like, Captain, the ship ahoy!
Oh, yes, sorry. Whew. She like pulls herself together, like straightens her hair and like stands up and puts a glass on it to see what the ship is.
So approaching in the early morning breeze is another whaler, which is, not uncommon. And when you make your signal to it, it proves to be the Jezebel. Malachi Dixon is the master, according to your books that you keep.
Good. Good. And she says, I need to be alone for a minute, and like goes to her quarters.
Cool. Emily's there. So let's cut to so Forbes and James. We haven't really heard from you about the events of this evening. Well, and what with the captain being out of it for a while. James, what did you do when the ship? What did you do?
Well, I knew that the captain, because of my bond with the captain, I understood what she was doing. And so I just tried to manage the crew and make sure that they, those who I felt were probably more classically religious men, at least classical in the European sense, were had their attention occupied elsewhere, so that they couldn't see exactly what was going on the quarterdeck. And I was also making sure that my mentor, if needs any help, that I would make myself available.
So, a lot of the men were kind of upset. They're like, "This is a good hunting ground. Why are we leaving in the middle of the night?"
I've never questioned this captain, and I'm not going to start now.
Maybe, all due respect, Mr. Fife, maybe you should.
Captain Goodwin has good senses about herself. It may have been good. I'm sure that she had a feeling that we'll have better feeding grounds elsewhere. So, are you questioning the wisdom of our captain?
Yeah, I'm questioning that we had to turn to in the middle of the night.
So you're questioning the orders of our captain?
Oh,
is that? Do I hear you correctly?
So this is Theodore, the sailor from New York City. So he does not notice the rest of the crew, sort of kind of just giving him some space. Well, Captain. Mr. Fife. You have to admit, it's ludicrous to call out in the second watch the entire crew to make sail in the middle of the night.
In my experience, it's ludicrous to question the wisdom of a seasoned captain in front of the first mate and the rest of the crew.
I sure feel like you're intimidating someone here.
Yeah. Let's see. That's... Oh, yeah, Braun. Great.
Well, entertaining.
Let's... I got a 2.
You got a 2?
I got a 2. I mean, the roll could have been worse. It could have been a 1.
Cool. So yeah. At this point, Ted is the crew starts to come back towards Ted, and they're like, "Yeah, we signed up to hunt whales, not to hunt the captain's fancies." And finally, Bill has to come up, and he's just like, "If any man doesn't want to flog, and he'll get to his task now." And he gives you a bad look because he hates having to resort to that threat. So, Emily, Forbes, Emily finds you.
Of course she does. Yes.
It's like, you're a Greenwood, right?
Yes, I seem to find that name is not unknown to you.
Well, I mean, I don't know much about it, but some of the other wives say that there's a woman named Greenwood in Kingsport town that is skilled. She's a healer.
Yes, my cousin Phoebe has many talents.
Oh, she's your cousin. Oh, how wonderful.
Some would say that.
Files that away. Mr. Greenwood, I know that I heard that you tried to help poor Bradford. I know you probably did your best, but I don't know that there's anything we can do to save him. But I fear that the same thing may be happening to our captain. And I don't know, perhaps somebody had intervened earlier with Bradford. He might have been spared.
Mrs. Houston, I think the important thing to note here is that you are referring to my captain, and yet you said our captain. And though I know that we are rather farther away from your ship than we had initially intended, I was not aware that you had signed on with us.
Well, I hadn't. I didn't know that we were sailing until I heard everybody running around. I don't know why the captain would do that to me, but I'm sure she must have thought it for the best. But on the other hand, maybe she was giving, maybe her reason has been affected.
Mrs. Houston, I think there is something very important to note here. Though yes, I do believe the captain's reason may have been affected, and I do plan to get to the bottom of it, I do think you rather overestimate the amount of concern she may have shown you.
Damn it, Greenwood, there's no shutdown in this.
I'm intimidating the hell out of her, though.
Roll plus Braun.
So, wait, actually, is that a thing where... this isn't... Could this technically be outsmart? Because I have a move, it's like when I try to outsmart someone, I roll plus brains.
I don't really think it's outsmart, but I'm also not thinking that you're threatening her with anything. You're just shining the cold hard light of reason on her. So I
Can you
don't
read
think
another's thoughts or manipulate.
I don't think it's a move. I think her face gets crestfallen, and I get to think about what she'll do. And I think she pulls herself up and is suddenly every inch a captain's wife. She says, Mr. Greenwood, I've made 5 voyages with my husband. I can splice a rope as good as any sailor. I've climbed to the top of the foremast on multiple occasions. I've helped stitch a man's arm back when we've countered pirates off the Malay coast. So, sir, if I tell you what a nautical emergency is, I think you should respect the fact that I am schooled in that if I am not schooled in whatever it is you learned in school. And she turns around and just stalks back to the cabin.
And a smile crosses my face, and I was like, well, perhaps she'll be useful after all.
Oh, God. Oh, you're the worst. Oh, the Greenwoods. Oh, my God. So, Captain, what are you going to do about this new ship?
Oh, God. Kill them all?
I mean, you could. You don't know anything about them.
Well, Hecatomb is a big public sacrifice.
So it is. Of course, you know, there is a ship that's already been marked.
Yeah, but all those people I think are already dead.
No? Why would you think that? I mean, you could put a glass on the charity if you want.
Yeah, I'll do that. Because I didn't really stop to see what happened.
Cool. So you put a glass on the charity, and it's making sail and heading your way. And somebody runs up some flags eventually that basically says, "Is Mrs. Bradford Oak all right?"
Right. So, I have them respond that yes, she is. And I guess like slow to allow her to approach.
Well, you're barely moving anyway. You've got almost no wind.
Oh, that's right. Right.
It's this calm is quite strange. The wind seems to blow and quite well around you, but the closer you get to the Tethys, the more the wind dies down.
Great, good. This is super great.
Yeah, it's fine.
I love this. This is awesome. It's great. It's good. Everything's fine. Nothing bad is happening.
Well, if only you could impress upon your angry and disgruntled crew the nature of true belief. Anyway.
I mean, I can do that.
So, the Jezebel is also rowing out a boat to you guys. So as the charity heaves to, and it sends out a boat, they're both converging on the ship at the same time.
Great, good. Yeah. So I am going to call the men to the deck. Let's see. No, you know what? I'm not. I'm just going to wait until they get here.
Okay. So the question is, which one gets there first, huh?
Good question.
That's an excellent question. Let's find out.
You going to roll for it?
I am going to roll for it.
Great.
Cool. So it is the Jezebel. So the Jezebel's whaleboat pulls alongside, and up bounds a handsome, dark-haired, long-haired man in his late 30s, early 40s. And he bounds onto the deck, says, "Permission to come aboard, Captain Greenwood. Captain Goodwin." I keep making that mistake.
I say, permission granted.
So I guess it's time for you to roll that move.
Oh, I was gonna roll spiritual fire, but I don't have to do that. But I can roll. Oh, you mean roll the like?
Yeah, I mean, if you want.
My reputation precedes me. Yeah, I think that's probably wise.
Yep.
I roll a 12. I roll a 14. So, I get to decide what they've heard, and I take one forward. So they're another whaling ship. I think that they have heard the thing that has been circulating about me that they have like latched onto is a captain so good she might as well be a man.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so he turns and goes, this cadaverous specimen is my first harpooner, Walker Wolf. He's a New Hampshireman, but he's learned how to sail. And I think the only way I could really describe him is lurch. He's about 6'5", just utterly tight-lipped, just nods at you.
Yeah, she laughs and says, "Well, we'll not hold his upbringing against him."
Well, Captain, how's the hunting?
It's been fair. We've taken what, 4 whales now?
Yes.
Yeah. We've taken 4 in the however many weeks? What is it, like 2 weeks maybe?
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks.
We've taken 4 in the 2 weeks since we set sail, and I've even made a few friends along the way.
Ah, the charity. Yes, I thought I recognized it.
Yeah. How fare you?
They're a bit of a... Well... They're, I guess, driven. But, out here on the waves, I can understand wanting to make a shortcut, though. To cut the throat of one's own fellow Yankees is... Well, it seems a little dishonest to me.
To me also.
We've done fair well enough for, we respect the sea.
As do we.
Well, then I think we'll get along famously, Captain. Oh, this was just a social call. I do invite you to come over to the Jezebel tonight. We'll send over my first mate.
I would appreciate that.
And at that point, he sees Emily and just nods like, Mrs. Houston. So, Joe, for some reason you think you recognize Walker Wolf. Why is that?
Recognize Walker Wolf. There was a guy on the first ship that I stowed away on who looked a lot like him. I don't think it was the same person, but it could have been his brother. I mean, it looked to the point where, like, anytime I try to picture the man on that first ship, now it will always be Walker Wolf's face that I see.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, he sees you and looks at you kind of strangely and then climbs down into the boat. And as they're sailing away, up moors the Charity's boat. And up climbs their second officer, Liam Woods. He tips his cap, says, "Ma'am? Is Mrs. Bradford aboard?"
She is.
"May I speak to you for a moment, Captain? I have a few things that I need to say."
Quarterdeck.
So,
go there.
Says, "First, I'm not quite sure what game you were playing last night, making sail all of a sudden and leaving us behind when you had the captain's wife on board."
Where's Lawrence?
Well, that was the second thing I was going to come to. Mr. Zaharias is dead. Cut his throat in his cabin this morning. right around the time you made sail. Which seems strange coincidence, but I know not of these things. It's all as God wills.
I sit up and I stand up like a little straighter and I say, he cut his own throat in his cabin?
Do you wish to see his body?
I do not. For I tell you, I have had the strangest thing happen. Last night, Lawrence was in need of aid, and I dove from my own ship to save him. And he found himself bitten in half, despite my best efforts. But now you tell me he is on your ship.
He backs. Yeah, he looks at you slightly weird, and he backs off a bit.
She like doesn't like approach again. She says, "There is something frightening, strange happening."
Well, all due respect, Captain, I advise you see your surgeon, or perhaps put your first in command. He's a good man and steady. For we're exact same way with our captain. He began to see things that were not true. Now, if you don't mind, ma'am, I'll collect Mrs. Mrs. Houston, and we'll be back to the charity.
I'm gonna real quick. Okay, I roll a 9 to intimidate. I step very close to him and grab him by the upper arm, and like she's strong. And I say, I am not mad. And I thank you not to speak to me as though I am, or speak of me as though I am.
Cool. What did you get on that roll?
I got a 9.
So he shakes his arm free. Your mental health is no concern of mine. I was thinking of the safety of your crew. It seems to me that you don't wish me to take... Now, may I take Mrs. Houston, or are you going to claim her?
I have no need of your captain's wife.
Then I'll be on my way, ma'am. It's a sorry day that poor Liam Woods to make his firsting. God have mercy on all of you. I think that's what he shouts as he takes Emily down into the boat. She looks stricken. She doesn't know what she wants out of this situation. As he climbs down, he just gives a shout, God have mercy on all you damned men. And climbs back down and they row away.
I look fucking murderous up on the quarterdeck.
Fantastic. So cool. I'd be happy to hear reactions from people about what just happened here.
I think that perhaps I'm actually maybe Joe and James and I are kind of standing like nearby, and I just kind of whisper to both of them. I'm just like, well, he is right. We are all damned.
I don't know. Captain probably is mad, but not about this. I was there last night. It happened just like she said.
Well, whether she is mad or not, there is a very high price that needs to be paid very soon, and I don't know what will happen one way or the other.
Mr. Fife, I'm most curious as to your reaction. I'm pretty sure the captain said, I am not mad, loud enough that your old sea dog ears could hear, if maybe not the rest of the crew.
Yeah, so I'm going to approach the captain and find out what happened. And did I overhear the little bit there with Mr. Greenwood and Mr. McDougal?
I had intended you to be there as well, like so.
So before I head to the captain, though, I'll just turn to Mr. McDougal. If you saw Lawrence last night, there can't be two Lawrences, so I trust the captain as well. I shall go check on her. And then I'll head off to you.
Why would they lie about something like that?
Maybe, mayhap they're now seeing things that aren't there, just like their captain.
Yeah,
That ship does seem cursed.
Well, one thing is for sure. They do seem to have a body and we don't.
Well, we don't
That's
actually know
true.
that they have a body.
That's what they say.
Yeah, I mean, my faith in their honesty is pretty low, given my experience with crew members on that ship.
Yeah.
Or I have full faith in our captain and Mr. McDougal, while a little bit green, definitely seems to have good eyes and ears.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. McDougal confirms what the captain says, then what the captain says is true. And then I'm going to leave them and head towards the captain. So if they want to continue.
And I think I turn to Joe at that point and I say, Joe, it is my prediction that there are very trying times ahead. And I would like to think that I might have someone to count on should things become a bit more complicated. Do you think that I might be able to say I could count on you?
Of course. Of course. We saw that night. I saw faces in the water of two of our former crew, and they obviously weren't there. So maybe their first mate wasn't either. But if so, what did we see?
Possibly what the sea wanted you to see.
That's always good to know that you can't trust your own eyes.
There are very few things in this world you can trust, and oftentimes what you see is the least of it.
Yeah, but what else can you rely on?
Ourselves and maybe each other.
By the way, speaking of things that you can't trust your eyes about, when you woke up this morning, you did not have a thread wrapped around your finger. You were clutching a long albatross feather.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Well, next time I see something like that, if you're around, I'll ask you. If we both see it, then well, it still might be a trick, the waves, but it's a better chance that it's real.
Yes, that's always the best way to think about it. We can all be together in the belief of what we've seen.
We can all be, lured onto the rocks together, or we can all survive together. That's what being on a ship with people is like, isn't it?
Yes, being bound in these human bodies means that we are all stuck here together, doesn't it?
Well, you're not.
What does that mean? I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that could have been a trick of the eyes and the ears too, but I don't think so.
Well, perhaps we'll talk about it another time. And then I think that we should go help the captain now. I know I have some questions.
Yeah. We should.
So do we want to see James and Charlotte? Yeah, I think that's a good note to end on. So let's see that scene.
I think when you go up, she's like clutching the edge, like the railing at the far back of the ship, and like facing out to sea, and looking at like behind us.
Captain Goodwin, did I hear them refer to us as men? Do they not know who you are?
Part of me is afraid that they don't, and part of me is afraid that they know all too well. I'm not mad, James.
You're not. Mr. McDougal confirms what you saw last night. They may have found a body, but it wasn't that of Lawrence.
Or perhaps the one that I had hold of wasn't.
Do you trust your senses? Do you trust yourself?
And she turns away from the back of the ship, and her eyes look a little wild, and her hair's like whipping around, and she looks at you and she says, I think anyone who says that their senses have never been tricked is lying to themselves and those around them. But I know what I experienced, and the question is, where is the lie? I think it is on their ship.
I think it is too. I think the further we can get away from them, the better, the healthier.
I worry for Emily.
I did not like to see her leave. She seemed to brighten the captain's mood.
I worry for anyone that cannot defend themselves from the things that might be happening on that ship.
She seemed a strong and fierce woman. We can only hope the best for her.
Tell them we're leaving at first light. I have something I want to do tonight.
I should make it so.
Good. And like that's like, you know.
I'll keep an eye on the captain so I can confirm what you're experiencing is true. For I have faith in you.
You're a good man, James.
You're a good captain.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, this is fine. Everything is fine. So I think that will be where we zoom out. Maybe next time we're gonna have a really interesting and awkward dinner on board the Jezebel, and then the captain will do some horrible thing in the night, and horrible things are gonna happen. I mean, good things, lovely things. I'm just gonna drop this stupid thing here because apparently Google has decided to reboot my my thing. So that's that. Come aboard if you want to chat. And this was lovely. I look forward to seeing the further voyages of the damned ship Tethys next week. Thank you all, everybody.